Onegaishimasu. Let's start with a few moments of Zazen. So consciously turning your attention inward, noticing your posture, noticing your breathing, and consciously releasing tensions on the out breath to soften the body, but also to open the body. So we don't want to just relax and collapse. We want to relax and open. So two basic directions, down and out. So down is weight under side, releasing. But if we just have that, we'll tend to collapse, and then that restricts the body. So two directions basically, down and also outward, which is exactly the opposite directions of normal stuff. People are in and up. They're literally uptight. And so we start with mechanically, physically, just going the opposite direction from normal. Down, but then I also need to be out, so I'm not condensed and collapsed. So that can help inform your shape and your posture now in Zazen, but also when we're moving and doing techniques. So relax down, weight under side, and flowing outward, emanating outward, radiating outward. Settled and expansive. If we're just expansive, if we're just one direction, we're not complete. Again, if we just have down, we're probably collapsed and condensed. If we just have out or expansive, probably floaty. We're floating, ungrounded. So if we just have out, probably ungrounded, and maybe we're kind of rising up a little bit, weight upper side. So it's two directions, down and outward. And consciously choosing to use the out breath as the active releasing breath. So each time we exhale, consciously releasing more tensions. We could say the same thing about our eyes with those two directions. We're gently looking down, slightly down, but not at a particular point. So settled, looking somewhat down slightly, but also open. That means using our peripheral vision. So same sort of analogy I said with the body. If we have too much out and not enough countering down, or that's not the whole picture. If we have down, not enough out, that's not the whole picture, it's not balanced. If I have just down with my eyes, I've closed my awareness, I've developed blinders, both visually, physically, visually, but also awareness-wise for the brain, for the mind. I'm just down, I'm kind of a little bit asleep. The computer is on sleep mode. It's not active. If I have just the peripheral vision, if I have just the expansive, like I said for the body, just the expansive, or in case of the vision, just the peripheral vision, I might have not enough focus to register anything. So I'm settled down or weight under side, even with the vision, and also open and expansive, and that's that peripheral activation. So within that openness, spacious openness, I'm settling physically, visually, breath-wise. And each time I exhale, I get a chance to resettle and reopen. Okay, so if you have an implement such as a bokken, if not, then a jo. If not, it could be any stick or yardstick or meter stick, even a broom. So, and if you don't have an implement, It doesn't matter. This is just a tool to get us in this shape. And so, as you know, most basic shape we have is Manucci. Even more basic and more fundamental is our Aiki body shape, our Aiki body posture and work. And a big part of that is the elbows are forward. We'll often say roll the elbows forward, because rolling the elbows forward pulls down the shoulders, which is a huge deal because everybody's up here. So you might have the arms out, you might have the elbows out, but you're still kind of up, just as we talked about in Zazen there. One down and out. So this is just another expression, another application of what we talked about. Down, but out. So if I, again, just have the down, okay, shoulders down, elbows down, yes, but look at the posture, it's collapsed. Down and out. And that's even on a very basic physical self-defense level, that Manucci shape covers as many bases as possible. The head, face, neck, ribs. Okay, rather than up here protecting the head or top of the head, but this is open. Down here, this is open. So this covers as many bases as possible. Has that extension, keep them outside your sphere. You keep your own personal space. So really, really basic shape. Here, both equally. We work this a lot to open up the body, sink the hips and open the body. Really foundational training shape. So this tool just helps us with that. What I want to bring in is just touch upon this for our more experienced people. If you go into this Aiki body shape, again, whether you have implement or not, doesn't matter. What I want you to do is, I mentioned we want the down, but also the out. Those of you who have more experience, I want you to have the out going back as well. In the beginning, we just have the forward. And we talk often about having a forward stance, keeping a forward stance, mirroring a strong forward attitude. But we've also touched upon a little bit, and this will happen more and more as you progress with more experience. It's not just forward, it's also back, but it's also this way. It's also up and down. We'll often say 6 directions, maintain 6 directions. Up, down, left, right, forward, back. But that's a bit onerous at the beginning. It belabors the mind and the attention, and it just gets you uptight. So at first we just say forward, forward. Strong forward attitude, even when you're moving, so that you're not collapsing in mind and body. You're not collapsing energetically. You're keeping a strong flow. And at first, for a long time, that's simply forward. Just like this tip is forward. Strong forward flow, strong forward attitude, but eventually that strong flow becomes equal in all directions. So a real simple application of that is I can also deal with any direction equally. I don't have tunnel vision. At first, first tunnel vision is acceptable because I'm developing certain things. But eventually it opens, becomes pervasive, equal, continuous, omnidirectional. So every direction is equal. More experienced people have this going back as well. Start collapsed, because contrasting is very helpful. Have the down to the point that you're a bit collapsed. As you roll the elbows forward, because we want that space out here, roll the elbows forward, pull the shoulders down. Imagine and feel you're doing the opposite direction as well, that the elbows are rolling forward that way, facing that way. It's like your doppelganger is right up back to back with you. And as you roll the elbows forward, getting that extension, the same thing's happening this way. Try that a few times. Drop down with no extension, a little bit collapsed, and then roll the elbows forward for good extension. And as much as you're going forward, it's also going that direction. As much as it's going forward physically, and as much as it's going forward mentally, energetically, have the same thing happening in the opposite direction at the same time. So again, more experienced people, that rolling of the elbows actually happens from a dropping of the hips, right? Hanging the hips, lengthens the spine, stretches and opens the spine, and that's really what rolls the elbows. And the elbows rolling is what pulls the shoulders down. But again, what gets those elbows moving? It's the dropping of the hips, opening, stretching open the spine. That's the gear to roll your elbows forward. I'll try to make that visual and visible. So I'll have to start nice and high to make it really obvious. Dropping my hips, hanging my hips is what sends my elbows away from the body. Dropping the hips sends the elbows away. And if you have a sense of that, that's lots to work on right now. But if you have more experience, that's also happening in the opposite direction. As if you're back to back and you have two sides equally. So as you drop the hips and roll the shoulders that way, roll the elbows that way, feel as if that's happening equally the other direction at the same time. Hanging the hips, so you should drop into a lower horse stance when you hang the hips. That stretches the spine, and that's what rolls the elbows forward. And work on that. Have that pull the shoulders down and open the shoulder joints. Open the shoulder joints because of the elbows are taking them away from the body. Again, if you have more experience, imagine and feel that happening exactly the same way to the same extent in the opposite direction. Everything opens as you hang the hips, shoulders open. You see my hands open too. Drop the hips, hang the hips. That opens the spine. That opens everything else. Hanging the hips, stretching the spine, rolls the elbows forward, pulls the shoulder joints open, even opens the hands. Breathe in as you come up. Breathe out as you sink, hang the hips, stretch the spine, roll the elbows. Breathe in, rising. That's a little bit of a rest. Breathe out, sink and extend, roll open. Breathe in, rest. Breathe out, sink, open the joints. Good. Let's just do a little bit more of a warm up. Roll the elbows until the hands are above the head. Arch back slightly. Come back to center, a little bend. Make sure your knees are bent and your lower back is flat. Down, bend over, but bend your knees. Come up by pushing your hips forward. Roll your elbows forward, above the head. Slight arch back. Breathe. Center, little bend. Little bend. Rotate. Keep the knees bent. Good. Now relaxed, letting the arms completely relaxed, very light horse stance. Let the arms swing side to side. So this is just a relaxation exercise to release those shoulder joints and work with gravity. Let gravity do this work for you. Good. Now in a long stance, just shifting the weight forward and back. So this is a warm up, but also a relaxation exercise. Release those shoulder joints, use those legs. So right now, I shouldn't be doing this with my arms. So this is a relaxation drill, releasing drill, and other side. So again, not with my arms. It's purely from the weight shift So the legs are working, arms and shoulders are very soft and relaxed. Okay, coming back to a horse stance. Same thing that we just did, but now we're going to add a weight shift. So more movement. So that's right across your body, laterally. That's all because of the weight shift. Arms are just passive. And then same with that forward movement again, forward and back. Let those arms relax and go. Other side. So it's just like a pendulum. So that should be a good, clear weight shift. Okay, back here again. Now we're going to be a little bit more clear and specific with our shape and our endpoints. We started with simply arm swings to get the body to release and relax. Try to have that same relaxation, but we're going to have more shape and more definite endpoint. So I'm going to shift my weight, do a skeet or thrust. So we did this earlier. Again, arms totally relaxed and soft, weight shift. It's the same thing, but we have a very clear endpoint. Same thing in the sense that we're coming from our legs. So weight shift, back is straight. So clear shape at the end. Good, long stance. Now we did this before, weight shift, arm swing, same thing, but a clear endpoint. So we do a ski to the front, ski to the back, show you from the side. So thrust to the front, thrust to the back. Still coming from the legs in the weight shift. And switch stance. You can start maybe with a soft, relaxed arm swing. Remember that feeling, relaxed, released, and then endpoint. So we're not changing the feet right now. We're just shifting the weight forward and back. Good. Now we'll do the same thing, forward and back, but we're going to turn on the heels. We'll do a tenkai. So forward, shift back, turn on one heel, turn on the other heel, forward stance, turn on one heel, the other heel, forward stance. So tenkai, so it's a pivot, forward stance, forward stance, forward stance, forward stance. The side, I'll show you. So we have the turning the heels one at a time. So with basic movement, an empty hand, tenkai. Let the straightness of this implement be an inspiration for the straightness of your spine and your body. Definitely when we work empty hand, all kinds of leaning is a normal tendency. So this straightness, have a sense of that, inspiring your vertical straightness. So with the tenkai, turning on the feet. Okay. Another basic movement is tenkan. Back foot goes behind you. And as we do that, back foot goes behind you. Mentioned the other day, you want to turn on that front foot a little bit before you do that. So that leg is already turned, that knee is already turned. And as I do that turn, that back leg back, I come up my center line. Drop it, come up my center line. Drop so I can come up my center line. So center line awareness. Notice still extended, not collapsed. And then switch your feet. Same thing, the other way. Back foot goes back. Turn on that front foot, swing that foot behind, and I'm staying in a front stance for now. Okay. Tenkan, 90 degrees. The back foot coming up, raises up center line. Front foot coming back, cuts it down center line. Back foot coming up, raises up your center line. That's straight up. Foot coming back, cuts it down center line. So up, cut down, coming up, back foot settles back, cutting down, weight stays in the front leg. Let's do a few together. So one count is there and back. Each. Knee. San. Stay nice and straight, vertical. Shi. Go. Straight up center line. Rope. Okay, let's do 180 degrees. If we start right leg forward, again, break that down a little bit. Back leg drives it up center line. Leg coming back, brings it down center line. Up, down. So each, and back, knee, san, shi, go, rope. Okay. Giri Sugiyashi, really basic footwork. Front foot comes off line, a little turn, basically 45 degrees. Again, we emphasize a forward stance, especially if you're relatively new. Attitude is flowing forward. It's called irumi, entering, forward flow. So I stay in a forward stance. Okay, so we're going to start here, straight down. So if I illustrate, I'm in a stance, but my arms are straight down. And when I do my Sugiyashi, okay, each, knee. Of course now, especially more experienced people, this is a mental tool to be flowing out that instrument, flowing out, way out. San, shi. Okay, other side. Each, flow out. Knee, forward stance. Relax down. San, shi. Okay. Now, if we keep the right leg forward, we'll do Ayumiyashi now. So that's switching feet. Back foot comes offline, front foot comes back 45 degrees, but we stay in a forward stance. So our weight's in the right leg, then in the left leg. Slightly. Here's halfway. Slightly. So when we say forward stance, it's just slightly forward. Each. Oops. Knee. San, shi, we'll switch left side forward, each, forward stance, knee, san, shi, forward stance. Okay, get a little creative. So, back foot comes forward and be walking towards the camera, but with the hips low, knees bent, turning the hips. Okay, so I come up to come down center line. Then I'm going to do a tenkai and then continue on. So when I step, comes up to come down center line. I step up to come down center line. I step, goes up, down. I do a tenkai and start again. So whenever you're ready, go ahead. Come down center line. Try not to collapse too much when you come up. Keep your minuchi. You come up, but not in. Do a few from the side. Tenkai and continue. Tenkai, then continue. Okay. Now we can do the opposite movement. We can come up, come up, come up, come up. Again, I Tenkai and then continue. So whenever you're ready, go ahead. So I step and I come up. I Tenkai, come up center line. Keep the elbows rolled forward, not collapsed. Unified body movement. Unified coordinated body movement. Step and cut. Okay, let's take a forward stance. We're simply going to be switching kamae, which we do in a very basic program. Knees bent so that you don't bob up and down. Basically that simple, basic drill, but we're going to cut down center line with every switch of the feet, every turn of the stance. There's an opportunity to cover center line and cut down. So remember the back foot comes up first. Keep your knees bent, hips hanging, come down center line. Well, by the way, I'm sliding, right? The hands are sliding, slide up, cut, slide down. Slide, slide. So my hands are sliding. So I slide up, slide down, slide up, slide down. Forward hand slides up, back hand, which becomes the front hand, slides down. Front hand slides up, so the back hand can slide down. Okay, now we're going to reverse that. Instead of coming down center line, when we switch our feet, again, the switching of the feet is the power driver for the movement of the arms. But now it's cutting up. Turning the hips, we're switching the feet, coming up. Okay. I step forward and cut down like we did before. Step forward and cut down. I now do a tenkan. My back foot turns all the way around and I cut up. I step forward and cut. I step forward and cut. Tenkan, cut up. I step forward, cut down. Step forward, cut down. Tenkan to cut up, center line. Step forward to cut down. Step forward to cut down, center line. Full turn back to cut up. So it's step, cut down, turn, cut up. And switch to the other side. So start on the other side first, so that you've switched. Step, cut down, tenkan. Step, cut down, throw the back leg behind you, cut up. Okay, now we step up, we step forward, we're going to cut up. Step forward, we cut up. Step forward, we cut up. Now I'm going to tenkan just like we did before, but cut down. So we've reversed what we were doing. When I step, instead of cutting down, I cut up. So I step and cut up. I step and cut up. I tenkan like before, but now since I'm up, I'm going to tenkan and cut down. I step, cut up, tenkan, cut down. Keep your back straight. Arms relaxed but extended forward. Let's start on the other side. Step, cut up, tenkan, cut up. Or rather cut down on the tenkan. Cut up, tenkan, cut down. Be aware of your form and your shape. Unifying the movement, aware of your shape. Okay. So remember we're doing this before? Ski, tenkan, cut up. Slide step forward, ski, tenkan, cut up. Ski, tenkan, cut up. Slide step forward for the ski, tenkan, cut up. So here, for the ski, slide step, full turn, cut up. Go slow enough that you can be clear about your shape, coordinated in your movement, unified in your movement. Then have the other side forward to do the ski with the other stance forward, other side forward. Tenkan, cut up. Slide step forward, ski, cut up. Slide step, thrust, turn, cut up. So if this is confusing for you can start with me here. I do a slide step forward and a thrust. Back leg goes behind me, I cut up. And then I slide step forward for another thrust, turn and cut up. Slide step forward for the ski or thrust, back leg goes behind me, and cut up. Okay. Then we'll do a movement that we do in 8th Q, which is Irimi Sugiyashi, sliding to the back stance, to the back corner. So instead of just regular Sugiyashi, where we stay in a forward stance, we do Sugiyashi sliding to the back corner into a back stance. So stay relaxed down to start with again. And as I slide to the back corner, I bring the front end up and down my center line. So from the front, I start down here, relaxed, offline, fade back, offline, fade back. Okay, so left side forward, offline, big slide step back, protect your space in a back stance. Offline, cutting down as you slide into a back stance. Offline, cover center line. Offline, extend forward. True to your center line. We do the other side, right side forward. So front leg comes offline, it turns slightly, big slide step back into a back stance, and extending up for my center line. Starting relaxed here, down, offline, sliding back to the back corner, weights in the left leg, back stance. Offline, sliding back. Offline, cutting down center line. Offline, into a back stance, cutting down center line. Then we can do Ayumi Ashi, which is going to be basically switching the feet. Back foot comes offline. Front foot comes back to the 45-degree back corner into a back stance. Then we'll have a chance to switch sides and have a nice full cut down center line. So left foot comes offline, brings up the left hand or that end. I slide back, cut down center line. So coming offline with the back leg, raises that end, and a big slide back, cuts that end down, covering center line.